Is the Bucks defense just broken? They have not looked great with Damian Lillard at the point of attack versus Drew Holiday.
Let's
Wait,
let
wait, wait, wait. Since the change, I'm not blaming anything, but since the change of point guard, they've not looked great this year. Um, I'm not sure if is this just early season trying to figure it out, trying to ease in. Is this Brooke Lopez, Giannis are kind of hitting the aging curve? What's happening with their defense? Is it broken or is this just very small sample?
I think there's a lot of everything. I wrote about this a little bit for the Athletic this morning, and Eric Name has written, of course, a bunch about this already to start the season. I think there's some element of like getting slapped in the face by small sample size. Like their opponents are shooting the hell out of the ball from three and from mid range, especially in transition. Like they're giving up too much transition, and also opponents are making every three in transition. It seems like. At the same time, they're allowing too much transition because they're and this is something you get. It's jarring watching them, having seen the very sort of stable bud ball of the last 5 years. Their transition defense is disorganized, and so they're giving up a huge 50% higher than league average. The league average around 30%, around 44% of live ball rebounds their opponents get end up in transition. And that's just a huge deficit to overcome. No matter how well you actually defend once you get back, if you're allowing an opponent to play fast, you're in trouble. And then in the half court, I think first 4 or so games of the season, they were kind of experimenting with different ways to use Brooke Lopez, and they were just getting killed at the rim. And since then, they've gone back to more of a little bit what we know works, and they were allowing something like 80 something percent at the rim through the first 4 games.
Right.
And it's been down in the low 60s in the last couple. Now, that tiny sample sizes, but that sort of aligns with, maybe the defensive player of the year, when we stick him under the basket guy, should be under the basket. When they got back to that a little bit, has helped a little bit. But so it's a combination of they're not playing hard enough. There's messing around a little bit with the scheme, and they're getting beaten by the variance stick.
I also just think the other thing too is the biggest thing after the trade when people brought up you lost a lot of defense was you have Giannis and Brook, you're fine. No, you're not. You're not, and you've lost a lot defensively. I think this is also a moment to understand what Drew Holiday brought to that team defensively in terms of everything that he did. I know the issues on offense and all that stuff, but defensively, we talked about it almost immediately after the trade, just how much easier he makes Brooke Lopez's life in drop coverage because he's fighting over the top of screens. And, so now the defensive stalwart in the starting lineup on the perimeter is, Beasley. Like, okay. Like this is like, it's those are the things where you're just like looking at it, and it's not surprising that their defense is bad. The transition numbers are bad. That's a bit surprising, but I'm not surprising their defense is bad. And everybody always just says, hey, just put Giannis on the perimeter. That's not an easy answer. That doesn't fix your problems. And these are things like this is going to be a concerning playoff issue for them. Like these are playoff problems that they're going to have to figure out how to answer. And I think there's a lot of those issues that we're going to be looking at throughout the course of the season. I think they're going to do a whole bunch of things. Defense isn't going to get better if you don't have better defensive personnel.
There's also a reason why Giannis, even in high leverage situations, wasn't necessarily guarding like the best perimeter player of opposing teams. I mean, that's not utilizing him to his greatest strength, which is sort of being a weak side guy who can just swoop in and create chaos, right? Brooke Lopez is supposed to be the stability, and then Giannis gets to create chaos as a helper. And if you have him guarding the ball, like he's just not able to do that. Also, he gets screened. I mean, it's not like he's this amazing screen navigator. He's huge. He's big. You don't want to get him on the ball. So I never have seen that as sort of a solution. I mean, like him trying to guard Jimmy Butler. It's not an effective way to go. Plus, it gets into foul trouble. Seth, you got anything else on the Bucks?
No, I think that I like slight point of disagreement with Mo. I don't think there's any surprise that their defense is worse I think their defense being actively bad thus far, I think, is a little bit of a surprise. Like,
Yeah.
if you'd have told me they were 16th in defense right now, yeah, sure. Like, it's not great, whatever. If they told me the end of the season, like 12th, 14th, 16th, if they're in the 20s, I would be very surprised by that. Well, let's put it that way.
I'm surprised that you're surprised by that. When you just look at their perimeter defenders,
Yeah.
like just when you look at their guards and stuff like that, who's getting a stop? Who do you trust to get a stop? Like, I look at their guards and it's like, okay, we're just going to be
Connaughton.
dependent.
Like, that's their best defensive.
Thing is, it's
plays.
going to be worse in the
Good.
playoffs, right?
Yeah.
That's
This is the problem.
It's a playoff problem for them.
Yeah.
You know, I'm that's going to be the thing I'm going to be harping on all season is what's a playoff problem for these teams. And this is a playoff problem for them. Their backcourt defense is going to be atrocious. And you're going up against teams that have legitimate good backcourt.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like you can just get away with it. And just assuming Brook can erase everything at the rim, Giannis can come running in from the weak side, puts a ton of pressure on those guys. And that's a big deal. And so it's like, I'm surprised by the transition defense, but I think that might have to do more with the coaching change and the philosophy behind those things. But I'm not surprised their defense is bad, because I didn't expect it to be good or average. This is one of those things. I just looked at their guards and was like, oof, who's getting a stop?
So this
I
is
feel
almost
completely
like
differently now as far as like Boston and Milwaukee. I probably have flipped on them. So already this season, just Boston has looked seamless. It's been perfect. And I thought
I have my issues with them.
I've got some issues too.
On another pod, but we can.
I think defensively it's been seamless. I mean, Kristaps Porzingis has just been incredible.
Go read Jay King's article in The Athletic on Porzingis's defense and how they're using him.
Yeah.
Can't win the title in November, though.
You can't. No,
yeah.
You're right. But it's building blocks.
Only Denver can.
Well, that's true. Hey, I'll give it to him.